Since the very first card is the Nine Muses, it is appropriate that it be the first instructional video about the words and the word family backgrounds of the cards. The Nine Muses also have one of the most interesting stories, so that also makes it a good place to begin. All 9 of the Muses are found on the card. I'll show you each of them close up and say each of their names. You can try repeating each name after I say it, but I should warn you that I'm trying to use the original Greek pronunciation, and most of the time you will hear the names of the Muses pronounced in an Americanized or anglicized version for the English. So the way you will hear them pronounced elsewhere might sound different from the way I'm saying them here. Terpsichore is the muse of dance. Polyhymnia is the muse of sacred poetry. Thalia is the muse of comedy. Urania is the muse of astronomy. Efterpi is the muse of music. Erato is the muse of lyric and love poetry. Calliope is the muse of epic poetry. Clio is the muse of history. And Melpomene is the muse of tragedy. At this point, you're probably asking, what exactly is a muse anyway? The 9 muses were the ancient Greek goddesses of inspiration. The ancient Greeks lived thousands of years ago and in rather a small place, but their ideas have had a major influence on the civilized world. Ideas in science, government, humanities, and universal human truths. Many of the words we use came from the ancient Greek culture and language, and the stories that became known as Greek mythology. You will see many of the roots of English from Greek culture and mythology on the BLS Vocabulary Victory English root word cards. A good way to get an overview of Greek mythology is with a wonderful, beautifully illustrated, easy-to-understand book called Doller's Book of Greek Myths. As a boy, I loved this book and continue to use it to teach about Greek mythology. This is a book you will enjoy owning, and it will add a lot to your understanding of the explanations of Greek roots. The ancient Greeks did not separate the arts from the sciences, so the Muses offered inspiration for both. They were the daughters of the king of all gods, Zeus, and Mnemosyne, the titan of memory. Memory was more important to the arts and sciences in the days of the ancient Greeks because writing was not part of everyday life and much had to be kept in memory. Some of the artistic forms the Muses inspired have changed. For example, the great works of ancient Greek literature were long epic poems, such as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. Today, we still have poetry, but we have different art forms, such as books and movies, to tell our epic stories. There are not as many words on the Nine Muses card as some of the others. Sometimes we can use the noun muse to talk about something that gives us ideas, such as saying, "My cat is my muse. I always get ideas when I'm stroking her." We use the verb to muse to mean we are thinking about something. She was musing about her different university choices. Knowing that the 9 muses were the goddesses of inspiration, it's easier to understand the connection between words that came from their name, like music, and museum. The English word music began as the Greek word musikos, or the phrase musike techni. Techni means art, so music means art of the muses. The word museum began as the ancient Greek museion, shrine of the muses. It evolved to mean a place of study, such as the Museion in Alexandria, built by Ptolemy around 280 BC. By the 1600s, it had evolved further to its present meaning as stated by the Oxford Dictionary: a building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic, or cultural interests are stored and exhibited. A word derived from the Muses that has an interesting relationship to museum is mosaic. Oxford defines it as a picture or pattern produced by arranging together small pieces of stone, tile, glass, etc., a colorful and variegated pattern, a combination of diverse elements forming a more or less coherent whole. We have already seen a mosaic of Mnemosyne, mother of the Nine Muses, from the 2nd century in Tarraco, Spain. The word mosaic had, and still has, a connotation of being of the Muses, a meaning which was reinforced by the large number of mosaics featuring the Muses, either in shrines to the Muses or elsewhere. The Muses also gave us some everyday words that can have multiple meanings. The verb amuse can have different meanings depending on the context. The Oxford Dictionary gives its first meaning as to cause someone to find something funny, as in, the boys made silly faces to amuse the girls. But the second meaning is just as common: provide interesting and enjoyable occupation for someone, to entertain, not necessarily by being funny. Waiting in the doctor's office was boring, so I amused myself by reading a magazine. Another example of this second meaning is in an amusement park. It's not funny, it is entertaining. The adjective forms of amuse take the same suffixes as the past tense of the verb, ed, and the continuous form, ing. The ed form is the passive adjective. I was amused by the kitten playing with the yarn. The ing form is the active adjective. The kitten playing with the yarn was amusing. Amuse-bouche is a French word. Bouche is French for mouth. An amuse-bouche is something to eat, usually a small starter, and often an original creation of the chef. Hello. It is enjoyable to the mouth. That is, it tastes good. It does not mean that the food is funny. A few years back, I made a video with two of my students about French words in restaurants called "I Don't Understand This Menu." You can find it on the Balao Perfect English, BLS Education YouTube channels. A word related to amuse is bemuse. This one could be more confusing because its usage has been changing, especially in American usage, and the secondary meaning is becoming the primary meaning. Oxford says the verb to bemuse means puzzle, confuse, or bewilder someone. but it's most often found as a passive form adjective. Bemused. Here, Webster's dictionary's definition gives you a better idea of how the word is increasingly being used. Having or showing feelings of wry amusement, especially from something that is surprising or perplexing. That phrase, wry amusement, is expressed in a certain kind of smile. You can find the Old English wry on flashcard number 67D. To turn, a turning, bend. Looking at wry in Webster's dictionary will give you some insight. Bent, twisted or turned, usually abnormally to one side, a wry nose. Or made by a deliberate distortion of the facial muscles, often to express irony or mockery, a wry smile. A wry smile, or a bemused expression, expresses irony in that the person smiling knows something that the other person or persons do not. The person with the wry smile is surprised by what he or she is hearing or seeing, but something more. They are not necessarily confused, but rather they feel what they are looking at or listening to is a bit foolish, because they know something the person or thing they are listening to or looking at does not. So a bemused expression is increasingly coming to refer to an expression of irony rather than confusion. Well, that's all I'm going to say about the Nine Muses card. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like it if you did and leave your comments below. And please subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. If you don't have the flashcards, you can purchase them from our website. If you have any questions, please email us. Have a good day, and may the Muses bring you inspiration. Did I miss anything? Hello? Did I miss anything? Oh.